there's this story in the Hindu scriptures about this divine couple. And it's Shakti and Shiva. You might have heard about them. And they rule in their heavenly abode. And they rule the whole earth. And they look at all of the people and all of the problems that are going on. They're this compassionate couple. And Shakti looks down one day, and she's the wife, and she sees this poor little guy, very poor, and he's walking along, and his clothes are all tattered, and his shoes are kind of falling apart, and he's got rope that are, tied around the shoes to keep them together, and he's walking along. And so she says to her husband, Shiva, drop him a pot of gold, drop him this bag of gold. And Shakti looks at her and he said, honey, I don't know if he said honey, but he said, I can't do that, I can't do that. And Shakti looks at him and says, why can't you do that? And she gets angry. And what he says to her is that he is not ready to receive it. And she becomes more angry. And she said, do you mean to tell me that you can't drop this gold? You're the ruler of the universe. You should be able to do anything. So she threatens to leave him. So he goes, okay, honey, So he drops down the gold. He drops the gold. It's down there. So meanwhile, they look down, and this little man is walking on the path, walking along, and he's thinking, where's my dinner tonight? I'm poor. I don't have any dinner. What am I going to eat again? And he says, oh, wow, there's this large rock right here. It's a good thing that I didn't step on it. If I would have stepped on it, I would have hurt my shoes and stuff. So he decides to step over the pot of gold. So he steps over the pot of gold. The moral being. How many times do we not recognize the pot of gold in our life? How many times don't we recognize the grace that is all around us, that is dropped from the heavens, that is in everything? We don't see it, and if we do, we don't recognize what it is. And that's what the whole moral of the story is. See, because you are born, you're born in grace. Grace is all around us. Grace is the energy of the universe. I got to thinking about grace, and I'm thinking, this just blows my mind. You were a speck once of just intelligence and information that turned into trillions of cells that turned into a baby. I'm thinking of babies because I'm going to have a baby, grandbaby, very soon. Good God, not a baby. But a baby. So we just think of that. I mean, is that like a grace in itself that turned into a teenager, that turned into an adult, that turned into who you are? That's grace. That's grace. And we didn't have to do anything. It just happened. It just happened, and you are here right now. And you're giving, and you're accomplishing, and you're doing, and you're being. And that was grace. See, grace works in our life 24/7, round the clock, all the time. It isn't usually something that's just dropped down like that pot of gold. It's just that we don't see it. And when we do, our world opens up. See, we don't have to earn it. It just shines on us, like the sun. It shines everywhere. Not on one person any more than another. Diane doesn't get any more sun than I get. Sorry about that, Diane. Grace is shined in all of us. See, here's what grace, I want to talk more about grace because it is about synchronicity too. But grace is defined. There's three ideas about grace. And that touched my heart. The first one, it's the Spirit of God that operates in humans to regenerate or strengthen them. I love that. It's love that is fully bestowed on us. And we don't have to earn it, we don't have to ask for it, it's just there. It's the universal energy of love that pours through us. And when we're open, we can really, really feel it. And then my favorite is that it's the effortless flow of existence. It's just what life is. It's this effortless flow. And when we can surrender enough and accept what is, we flow with that life. You know what that reminds me of? The Tao, doesn't it? If you've studied the Tao before, you know that that's what the Tao is. It's the flow of life. It's the energy of what is. So I found a quote from the Tao. Here before heaven and earth, silent, and it's elusive. It stands alone, not wavering. It travels everywhere unharmed. It could be the mother of us all. And the Tao never does a thing, yet there is nothing that it doesn't do. That's the energy of grace. It's the same thing as the Tao is. See, like grace, there is this eternal harmony that runs through every one of us. An eternal harmony that can never leave us, but we can leave it. We can leave it, and it's available to us at every moment. It doesn't have any boundaries. It knows no boundaries at all. And this is the most important thing. The more that we move in harmony with it, the more peaceful and the more productive that our lives will be. That's the power of grace. See, we have to put in the effort and then let go and surrender to something bigger than us. You can call it by many, many different names. You can call it God. You can call it love. You can call it the Tao. Whatever it is, when we let go of what's going on in our life and quit trying to push and push and push, it comes to us. Paul Tillich, you know him, 20th century theologian, and here's what he says, that he says that sin, this is interesting, sin is the opposite of grace. And that sin is separation. It's separation from this harmony of the Tao. It's separation from grace. So the moment that we are separated from our divine self, the moment that we are separated from each other, from community, he says that we sin. And then the moment that we connect, we're in grace. And we get to choose. We're the ones who choose. It's an interesting way to think about it. Ever thought you were a sinner? I was told that many, many times. Not that way, though. Not that way, though. And he says that, here's his words, that grace strikes us when we're in great pain and restlessness. Now think about in your life, when the things have been most difficult, when you're going through the most difficult part of your life. This is when grace really happens. This is when you notice it more. It strikes us when we walk through the dark valley of a meaningless and empty life. Think about in your life if you've ever felt like your life is meaningless or empty. Grace strikes us when our own disgust for our being, our indifference, our weakness, our hostility, and our lack of direction and composure have become intolerable for us. And he says it's at that time that there is a moment that a wave of light breaks through. So think about your life for a minute and see if you remember a little bit of light breaking through in your dark times. Breaking into the darkness. He says as if there was a voice saying, it's okay. You are accepted. You're accepted by that which is greater than you are. You don't have to seek for anything. Do not perform anything. Don't intend anything. Simply accept the fact that you're accepted. Accept the fact that you're okay. You're accepted for who you are. Perfect, whole, and complete. And we put all the other stuff on top of us. But we are perfect, whole, and complete. See? And I was thinking about a time, and I know that all of you have had this in your life, and I think about grace and what it means. And I remember the time in my life when, and I've talked about it a lot, but those of you who don't remember, where I was laying in bed, and I'm just filled with ice. You know, and my life was at its lowest, and I could barely, do anything but think, just this dark gray feeling. And it came a time when I just had to let go, right? And went over and over and over in my head, until finally, after praying and effortlessly reading everything, trying to do everything, I laid down and there was this feeling that went through me. And I think that's what he's talking about when this moment of light breaks through. It was this moment of light that came through, and there was like a gentle rocking. And that was grace in my life. It was like, you're accepted. You're okay. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to intend anything. You don't have to read another book. You know, all you have to do is just accept, and know the truth of who you are. And I guess at that time I didn't even know the truth of who I was. But what I know is that there were arms that cradled me. And that's what grace is. It's when you can't do anything yourself, when you can't put the effort in anymore. You've done everything you can, and then you just sink back, and somebody, some energy, holds you and lifts you. See, that's what the light is. That's what the light is. See? And actually, nothing in my life changed. Nothing has to be different. But you're different after that. You see life differently. Because you know that you'll never be alone, and you know that you're totally accepted. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that grace is just simply a state of oneness. You know, and he said that really all of us will be part of that oneness. We are part of it, but we'll know it one day. He says we'll be part of the oversoul. If you're in religious science, you probably studied that before. The oversoul, it's part of the oneness. He said there is something bigger than all of us, and we are being taken care of. And Rumi, who I love so much, says, give it up to grace. Give it up to grace. The ocean takes care of each wave until it gets to shore. Isn't that beautiful? Give it up. The ocean takes care of the wave, and the wave gets to shore. You're going to get to shore. Give up your problems. Let the spirit or the energy of grace carry you through. See, the ocean doesn't demand goodness. It doesn't demand that you do this. You don't have to do this to get saved. You don't have to say anything. You just have to be. You have to let go of all of the stuff and see that pot of gold. And then Rumi says, when we open up to grace, something opens up our wings. It makes boredom and hurt disappear. And something fills the cup right in front of us until all that we can taste is sacredness. The sacredness of life is what he's talking about. The sacredness of life. But we try, and we try, and we try to get somewhere. And there's nowhere to get because it's here all along. We put so much effort, and that reminds me of the last story that I want to tell you about a martial artist who wants to succeed and wants to be the best. And he says to his teacher, you know, I'm willing to study, I want to be the best. How long is it going to take me, master? How long is it going to take me? And the master says, it's going to take you 10 years. And he says, oh, I can't do that. I've got to do it. What if I study more and more and more, and I do this and I do this, and I practice every day, and I work really hard, and I put all this effort into it? And the master said, 20 years. That's what I'm talking about. You know, it's not about more effort, more grabbing, more trying to get anywhere. You know, it's about just being able to be and to surrender, to accept this incredible field that you are born in, this field that you live in, and this field that is you, that is manifested as each and every one of you, and me. We're a manifestation of God. And we look human. We don't have to keep trying. We just have to be. See, effort is a choice and grace is free. Grace is all around us. So there's a time to push, and then there's a time to let go. There's a time to let go, and I have a feeling that, boy, if you're like me, we're pushers, and we're doers. And so the call today is to just surrender to it all, to let go, to feel it. Ramakrishna, if you know Ramakrishna, 19th century Indian mystic, he says, the winds of grace are always blowing. It's up to us to raise the sail, to raise the sail. So won't you now just close your eyes for this final blessing. May we recognize the grace in our life always. May we recognize the miracles May we remember to be kind and compassionate. May we rest in God always. And may this day, always, may we walk in love.